taking place against the backdrop of thriving bilateral ties between China and Argentina. The two countries upgraded their bilateral ties to a strategic partnership in 2014. Last year also marked 45 years of diplomatic relations between the two sides. How can these two countries use this expo to deepen their economic relations? And how do Argentinians look at Chinese investment and trade with China? In this edition of The Point with me, I was joined by Mr. Ramiro Guelar, the Argentine Ambassador to China. Thank you very much for accepting our interview.
Thank you for coming and visiting our space here in this extraordinary fair.
Thank you very much. Well, I understand that traditionally the export from Argentina to China mostly consists of agricultural produce such as meat, wheat,
beef.
Soybean, beef,
soybean,
exactly.
Wine. Wine is an extraordinary product of Argentina.
What kind of presents do you have it here?
And well, here I just want to show you, if we can, these gorgeous pictures of the glacier that are in the south. It's the most important glacier in the south of Argentina. That even though it's not an export, is one of the favorite places of the Chinese tourists. And you know, tourism is the same like an export, because it means that it's coming in money to Argentina, and of course we welcome the Chinese tourists, and one of the favorite places is the southern part of Argentina.
Yeah. But what kind of products, what kind of goods are you displaying here?
We have, of course, all agro-business is our most important product. That is the soya, of course, all the complex around soya, that is the oil, soya oil also, meat. Our beef is the best in the world, and it's a major success in China. Shrimps, the favorite shrimps are the shrimps of the Argentinian Sea.
However, this is happening against the backdrop of very peculiar development, let's say, of trade between the two sides. According to the Chinese numbers, last year import from China rose a lot, but imports from Argentina to China actually dropped a little bit. What is behind that?
Well, the first reason is that we have the worst crop in our history. That means 50% less of soya production. That was something that harmed us a lot. The second issue is that we have to accept the challenge of incorporate more added value products, not only commodities. We have to go straight to your supermarkets, and that's the reason why in this fair, for the first time, we have a great delegation of over 50 entrepreneurs, and I really think that we are in a new era, as the Chinese used to say, but it's a new era for China, but it's also a new era for Argentina, and we have to incorporate this idea of added value products from our countryside that is so powerful in terms of food production.
Well, let's walk a little bit around the Argentinian booth here. Now, I understand the trade deficit with China is also quite big, right?
Yes.
According to your statistics, it's 9 billion or something. Are you going to use expos like this to balance the trade between the two?
Yes, we hope that that is going to happen in the next few years. Your exports are a great success, basically in all that is communications and electronics and industrial products. The Chinese products are very well received, the industrial ones. We have, and that is the challenge, to export more minerals. That's something very important, like Chile is doing, like Brazil is doing, like Peru is doing. We have also to export minerals to China.
But on the other hand, look, the import from China to Brazil, to Argentina, is mostly manufactured goods, mostly consumer goods and electronic products, whereas the exports from Argentina to China, mostly meat, agricultural
what we call
products.
commodities.
Yeah, commodities. Okay, so But you have said that this is not a very sustainable structure. You
No.
want to change that. How do you plan to change that when you're still heavily promoting your beef here?
Well, what we are doing is now we are opening several hubs, distribution centers, one here in Shanghai today, but another in Tianjin, another in Guangzhou, but are more related to added value products. If you go to any supermarket in Argentina, you are going to see that the offer, in the domestic offer of food, of different products with added value made in Argentina are far better than any Chinese supermarket. Why we're not producing? Why we're not exporting? Well, we were a country that was isolated for many years. Our businessmen were get used to work exclusively for the domestic market or our neighbors, Chile, Brazil, Uruguay, and there was no idea about the importance of the Chinese market. This is changing dramatically during the last 2 years, and that's how we think that we are going to balance this extraordinary exports from China with extraordinary exports from Argentina.
Yeah, we see indeed a lot of people very busy here, but let's not forget this is also happening against the backdrop of the trade friction between China and the United States. So how is Latin American countries seeing in this crisis here?
Well, personally, I can tell you that I hope that this so-called trade war is going to be finished in a short time. United States and China is the most important association built between two countries in the history of the world. Then what I really think that has happened is that we are not seeing a war. What we are seeing is a renegotiation of this very close association. And probably in a few days, in the G20 summit in Buenos Aires, it's already accepted
in your country.
In our country. In my country, we are going to have already its program a meeting in between President Xi and President Trump. It's going to be a meeting and a dinner. I'm sure that we are going to receive very good news about the possibility of a resolution of this so-called war.
But so far, actually, South American countries have kind of benefited from this friction, right? I mean, the soybean exports has grown.
It has been very limited. It's short-term advantage. Never a friction is good. To have a speculation about how we can have a profit from a major tension, that would be a wrong approach. We hope that this tension are going to be over as soon as possible.
Okay, let's look at the longer picture. By 2025, President Xi predicts that there will be $250 billion in foreign direct investment to Latin America and $500 billion of trade with Latin America. But some people are saying China is an inferior power in that part of the world. So what is the root of such suspicion, and do you see it as a threat, or do you see it as an opportunity?
No, I don't have any doubt that it's a great opportunity, that the proposal from China, the Obor, the Itailu, is a generous proposal.
The Belt and Road Initiative.
The Belt and Road proposal. It's a win-win proposal. For us, it's a benediction to have the growing of China in the world. The problem would have been to have just one hyper superpower, the United States, to give the right name to that danger in a way. And we hope a more well-balanced world, where South America can be an active participant. And the presence of China, that nowadays is the first investor, the first creditor, and the first market for all South America, is something new. It happened during the last 10 years. It's an amazing new actor, world actor. It is possible, it's positive. Is this a danger, an imperial danger? Not at all. There's no danger at all.
People need time to get used to it.
They have to get used.
Okay.
It's a matter of time. People have to know more about China. China has to know more about the world.
That's exactly
and this,
the function of such an
This
expo.
is the exercise that we are practicing here. And this was an initiative from President Xi. And this is an extraordinarily positive initiative. This is the first one. It's going to happen every year. It's a major signal of the opening of China.
Yes. Now, China has been trying to have a free trade agreement with Mercosur, which is the grouping of South American countries, but without success so far. What's the obstacles there? How do you think the likelihood something happens in the near future?
You know, we have had a tradition, especially Brazil and Argentina, to be close economies. This has been a problem. It's very clear that it was not the best business for Brazil or for Argentina to be close economies. I think that we are rethinking that scheme to be close economies. I don't have any doubt that in the next few years we are going to be negotiating free trade agreement. Also, not only Argentina but also Brazil. We are very close. Brazil is our closest partner in the world, and we want to do things with Brazil. We need to get the consensus. This is a major debate already. But a few years ago there was no possibility even to debate the idea of a free trade agreement. Now we can not only debating. I'm sure that it's going to have a positive resolution.
Okay. Well, you have been in China. My last question. You have been in China for a couple of years. I remember in 2013 you talked about the silent invasion of China, Chinese landing in South America. Have your ideas changed over the years? Because most recently you said China is not going to be a threat to anybody.
In the year 2013, when I published my book about the secret invasion, that was a metaphor. Because in that moment nobody was aware of the importance of China in South America. Then I pointed out that this was a major issue that was happening. Now it's not anymore a silent invasion. It's good news. It's a loud one. But in any way, this it's not an invasion. It's a very good landing, a very positive one, and I hope that it's going to increase in the next few years.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Diego Guelar, for joining us, the Ambassador of Argentina. And that is it for my special coverage here on the side of the first China International Import Expo. You have been watching The Point with me, Lee. We'll get a short break and we'll be back right after this. Stay with us. 2018 marks the 10th anniversary of the establishment of the China-Denmark Comprehensive Strategic Partnership. The two countries have maintained a long-term friendship with frequent exchanges in various fields. And the meeting between the two heads of state in 2014 brought bilateral relations to new heights. How do Danish media outlets report on China's stories and view bilateral relations? What are the potential areas for further cooperation between the two sides, and what role can media play in helping achieve these goals? Earlier, I talked to Hans Hermansen, the CEO of the Post of Denmark. Hans, thank you very much for accepting our interview. You are my first Danish guest on the show, so I'm very curious, let's say. First of all, tell us a bit about your perception or your understanding of this Import Expo from the perspective of a Danish media person. How do you look at it?
Well, it's very clear to see that, that China have to do this now. The world has changed. There's a president in a very big country who wants to build borders, and we want to take the borders away because we are a small country, and if we couldn't export our goods, our Lego, our Vestas wind energy, our green energy, where is very, very good, our Danish butter cookies, then we could not be a rich country. So we really think this is a fantastic thing to do, to open up, and to 130 countries is involved here, and next year it will be even more. So this is a very, very good idea, and a very good idea for the world, not only for China and Denmark, but for the world.
Yeah. Well, President Xi Jinping also gave a keynote speech at the opening ceremony of the Expo. He mentioned many times this word open, and he used analogy as well. How do you evaluate the message that he tries to send to the world at this moment?
I think the words is so easy to see, open. And what I have seen for 30 years, since the first time I was in China, is they get more and more open. I know Chinese very good, working close with the Chinese embassy in Denmark, and maybe some people think it's a closed world, but it's not. They're very, very open, and they are ready to work with the whole world. I also heard that Europe is one of the places where they will focus China, and sometimes I go in a Danish shop and buy a shirt, and when I have to wash it, oh, made in China. So we're open today. We use internet. I buy a lot of things that I don't really need from China, but it looks so nice and cheap in the internet, so I buy it.
So what kind of opportunity is China's offering to companies in Denmark? You mentioned a little bit Lego. Lego is already very, very big in China, but potentially what else can Danish business people profit from this huge market?
One thing I'm sure we can be very big of, that is green energy. I know it's a big problem in China, the pollution, and we're the best in the world on green energy. You know Vestas, I think, that's windmills, one of the biggest in the world. That's a Danish company. And I mentioned butter cookies before. This small Danish company have a very small factory in Denmark. Now they have a very big one here in China, and that's the greatest market. And that's because you don't have all these trade borders for dealing with us. I know these persons very well, and I know they're so happy working with China.
How have you looked at the kind of exchanges that Denmark has had with China over the past 40 years? I mean, we don't hear about it so much. It's not so much in the news. But looking ahead, looking back, do you think that it has been up to your expectations, or what else would you like to see in terms of bilateral exchanges?
Actually, 30 years ago, again, this open. I was working for a travel agency in Denmark, and we opened a route to Beijing. That was why I was happy for hearing that it even opened more. It was very successful. So many Danish tourists going to China and see and learn about this country and meet the people. That's the most important, to meet people. When you meet people, you understand them better. And we always find out that we're nearly the same, end of the day. And what happened now is that now China take Chinese to Denmark to see Denmark. So we have a lot of Chinese tourists in Denmark. And the better we know each other, the better the business will be, the better the understanding will be.
At this moment, do you think the level of understanding is satisfactory to you? Because after all, it's quite a big geographical distance. I don't know how many people come to China. Do you think that the Danish people understand the China that has changed tremendously?
Yes, they understand. And again, I look back when we came here 30 years ago. The Chinese think, why do they behave like this? Why do they behave like that? Why do they have a long nose? And it's the same picture in Denmark today. When the Chinese come, because it's another culture. So when they come to Denmark, some Danes they think, why do they behave like that? But let's get an understanding. And there's many medias, they always find the negative thing to write about, instead of the positive thing. China is, for me, in a few years, the leader of the world. And they have done it in a peaceful way, where we see other countries do it in another way. And the understanding is the more open China is, also with medias and with articles, and as we learn when we work with medias, always tell the truth. Sometimes the truth is not nice to tell, but it's better to tell it. Otherwise, the journalists will find out.
Sure. I think that one of the messages that President Xi sent during his speech on Monday at the opening of the CIA is how frank he was with the state of the Chinese economy. I took that away. How do you look at that? That he was admitting basically to the world that the Chinese economy is facing headwinds.
I was thinking about the Chinese economy, like I have tried your fast train, and it goes so very fast. Your economy will be that train. You invest in Africa. Nobody else do that. You invest in Eastern Europe, the former Eastern Europe. Nobody else do that. So your economy will explode. And he also said about the ocean, there will be a wind, but the ocean will always be there, like China will always be there.
Yeah.
And the more open China is, the easier it will be.
Yeah. At this moment, what do you see are some of the problems, however, or obstacles, let's say, that's standing in the way for people in Denmark and people in China understanding each other better?
First of all, they are afraid of China because the production is cheap here. So if you are making shirts in Denmark, you can buy it for 10% of the price if you buy it Chinese. But that's the world. The world is getting smaller. We can buy all over the world. So if the Danes can't be competitive, then they have to find new ways. I work with medias, printed medias, and every day we are not, but some papers, they are going low, low, low in the print run. We're going up because we find new ways to produce it. And it's the same. If you cannot compete, then you're out of the market.
But some people are complaining about the competition coming from other parts of the world instead of finding ways to adapt to that. What can be done, however, in your eyes, to talk to the people in Denmark, and what do you think has to be done on the part of China as well?
Denmark is very good at fashion. They're very good at engineering. They're very good at so many things, even we are a very, very small country. So we should stay to that. That's what we are good at. If the production can be cheaper in China, we have to make the production there. And then again, we can sell our things all over the world. And many Danish companies, they are making the production in China.
What do you think on the part of China? Is there anything that China or Chinese companies can do to help itself better understood by the people that they are dealing with increasingly?
I've worked so much with Chinese in Denmark. They're very, very clever. That's what we say. Chinese, they have the brain when they come to Dane. Philippines, they obey us, and that way. I know it's very, very rude. But you're very organized. You know what a deadline is, and you deliver on time. So Danish companies are happy working with China. There'll always be a group who don't understand what's going on and who's afraid of their jobs. But you cannot start to open the coal mines again. I mean, the whole world talk about green energy, so that's the way it will go.
Talking about opening up to Chinese investors or opening up to cooperation opportunities with the Chinese. However, there are indeed a lot of suspicion about China's intention when Chinese companies invest in Europe, when Chinese companies try to collaborate with the European companies. They are saying the Chinese want to maybe steal their technology or take their jobs away. Is it not a concern with some Danish people as well? How do you look at that?
No, they don't steal. They get inspiration. When I work for a big retail chain in Denmark, we also go and buy all the products from our competitors and see what can they do better. And then we try to do it a little bit better. That's not stealing, that's inspiration. But I know somebody had the thoughts about that. And I've seen an expo in Denmark where Chinese, they were under the cars and under the machines to see how do they do that and how do they do that. And that's how the world is. You cannot change that. You cannot stop the development. So we just have to be one step ahead all the time. Otherwise, we'll break down. I see so many companies, they have been there for so many years. And they think they'll be there the next 100 years. Then in a few years, somebody inhaled them, and they're out of the market.
Yeah, they have to be
if you fell asleep.
Yeah.
I also heard a speaker here who said, When a man is standing still, he grow old. He have to move all the time. I'm really moving now.
Well, yeah, that's very interesting. However, on the other hand, in terms of the perception of China, I don't know whether the media has been moving as China has been growing. I mean the media in Denmark, for instance. You have the Post, which is one of the largest media in Denmark. How do you look at the kind of the role that media is playing in reporting China to their users? Are they doing a reasonably good job, or you would like to see more media getting involved and looking at China from maybe a different perspective?
Yeah, I should like to see that, because we have a rule in our paper that we're always fair, and sometimes we can even print a positive story. But there's something about journalists, they want to write negative, because the sales is better if you can find a very, very bad story. So I think they should learn that, because if the story is true, we will print it, even if we have a very good cooperation with the Chinese embassy. If it's bad, we'll print it. If it's good, we'll print it. And they should learn that, a lot of the medias in Europe.
Has your interest in China, or sometimes when you print a positive story about China, has that been welcomed by your readers? Has that been appreciated by... Yeah. What kind of appetite do they have for stories about China?
They want to... our readers is high educated, and they can think themselves, and they want to have the information from all over the world. I can tell, for example, Russia. We're also working very close to Russia, and again, we tell the truth. We write when Putin do something stupid, we write about it. If he do something good, we also write about it. I think, for example, the president in U.S., his problem is that he's fighting the media, and that means even when he do some good things, they will never write about it. They're just waiting to write something wrong. But be open, tell the truth about China. That's absolutely the best way.
Thank you very much, Hans Hermansen, the CEO of the Post of Denmark. And with that, we come to the end of this edition of The Point with me, Liu Xin. As always, you can follow me on Facebook and Twitter using the handle The Point with LX. Download the application called CGTN to watch the show on your mobile devices, or go to YouTube and look for CGTN The Point. Thanks for watching. You've got The Point.